Okay. Very important development I found out about this weekend is that Jackson Hinkle's girlfriend has broken up with him. And that's right. That's right. Jackson Hinkle, who is dating Miss Russia, and had really advertised this relationship, is basically a FSB, Secret Service provided girlfriend. And apparently Hinkle maybe upset the Kremlin by I don't know, by going on, by kind of switching course with the Palestine thing and dissing Israel too much. But he's lost his girlfriend over the Hinkle's girlfriend is some kind of in addition to being Miss Russia, was like some kind of like Dubai escort, and she has her name and pictures all over these websites. And what people have said is that these are like stock photos or something, because she's a model. But I don't know. I don't know how many. Why would you use those pictures? I don't know any. I don't know. I've never heard of this happening to anyone else. Anyhow, there's serious geopolitical implications here with and people maybe speculate that Hinkle will switch sides, like Richard Spencer or something like that, where before he was for Russia and now he'll be for Ukraine. But there's no way that this will happen, because first off, it would not be a good thing if you have someone like Hinkle on your side who is kind of just a low grade, lowest common denominator figure outer who pushes just complete bogus lies for like the dumbest people, and which is why he's exploding in popularity with the Palestine thing. Where the Russia thing only got him maybe so far. But you know, in a way, good for Hinkle as far as all these other distant grifters go. He has been the most successful about maybe running this grift, and because and I've seen people who fashion themselves as maybe more intellectual and more maybe of a higher caliber than Hinkle. I've seen them, especially early on, retweeting Hinkle's stuff. So and liking his stuff and repeating Hinkle. So all these, there's a lot of people who fashion themselves as serious dissident and geopolitical expert, commentator. Very smarmy people have found themselves grifted by Hinkle, and you don't see them with any Miss Russias or anything. They don't get FSB provided girlfriends, except maybe Spencer. But either way, so I mean, what did you that's how you can look at these other people. Obviously, this is what Russia wants, is like someone like Hinkle and the Hinkles of, this is what the MAGA communism is basically exactly what they want, apparently. This is what they incentivize, clearly. So that says a lot about Russia, and these other pro-Russian people are mostly in the grifted camp, and you don't see them with. They peddle the same lies, and they don't really get as much out of it as Hinkle does. And good for Hinkle in a way. Sometimes Hinkle, the stuff he says is so preposterous that I almost feel like Hinkle is kind of like throwing a wink, like like he's like, I'm just full of it, and I'm just trying to, he's like, like he when he's like talking about like the Soviet Union being like a godly nation or something. Like, I think that's really funny. Like, I can't help but laughing, and I wonder if Hinkle is trying to say, like, he's trying to tell people in a way, I don't really believe it. This is obviously so absurd that, like, I'm just doing this to get money and so I could bang Miss Russia, and good for him, because either way, it is kind of a play for America, because an American kind of cucks Russia, an American takes Miss Russia or something. So the Russian nation is cucked by Hinkle. Hinkle pulls a pump and dump, and he moves on. He moves on to Palestine. I'm not saying Hinkle's a great guy. He's a piece of shit, but it's almost a comically rascal at this point. So, as far as all the other grifters go, they're just as big a piece of shit. And the whole dissident thing and all the... I'll get to this. I was just at... I plan to make just a video on AmericaFest, AmFest, just to report on it. But then I got the news about Hinkle, and so... But all these other, what we have, not just with the MAGA communist variety, but these other kind of dissident idiot, and this is a big spectrum now, where Max Blumenthal fits in, like where right-wing people are into Max Blumenthal and stuff like that, or Glenn Greenwald, who Tucker Carlson will pal up with. And Glenn Greenwald, I mean, I don't know what you could say. Like, he was, in his profile pic on Twitter is his dead husband, so-called, who I think he met when he was like a teenager. I mean, the husband was like a teenager. The teenager died from, or the husband or whatever. He's dead. He died earlier, like this year or whatever, from like an infection in his ass that you could figure who this might be, what kind of this infection might be common to, and so for like what caused this from Glenn Greenwald. And Glenn Greenwald, if you're into this stuff and palling up with Glenn Greenwald, like, I don't know what to say, but this is a long spectrum, and the opinions on this are basically like, if you survey the kind of right wing, it's united, the so-called whatever, what we have for right wing, the right, we'll just say. They might have different opinions about Israel, but for the most part, Russia is the same. We're like the dissident, and for by and large, all these people. Because this is what you see with Charlie Kirk's crowd, with the Turning Point USA. What you see at AmFest was basically completely pro-Russia, pro-Israel. That's why Tucker Carlson's there, and he'll pal up with anti-Israel people, but not so much anti-Russia, and so on. And there's a lot of anti-China rhetoric with the whole thing is supposed to be like anti-China, but you speak to people there and they'll dodge around China being affiliated with Russia because they're all about it. Like, I don't know. There's any number of kind of there's like all these Zionist organizations and so on. And here is some of the stuff. This is what you find at some of the pamphlets and stuff. So China at war with Israel? I asked this rabbi about it, like about China actually investing in Israel, and he's like, here, take this button. And this is the rabbi. Hamas hates Israel and America for the same reason. To paraphrase President Trump, it's the U.S. they're really after. Israel's just in the way. Who is Hamas? Who's killing the people? And then that's all this other stuff. This is like the stuff you find at Turning Point USA. Gays against groomers. Whatever. And there's such a weird obsession with, you talk to people about these weird they're phantom-like opponents with they don't want to define things as they are. Like it's all about like child trafficking. There's tons of people obsessed amongst this crowd, and you meet some people who, I don't know, child trafficking, groomers, and all this other stuff. But all these people seem like almost like they are themselves groomers and child traffickers in a way. Like the whole thing, AmFest is like a grifter. It's like a grifter convention, effectively. And I mean, like, there's every kind of grifter there. All the speakers, and they just will sell weird. There's tons of different coffees, of course. The grounds, the grifter ground. They got everyone's selling coffee there. They're selling a device there where you stand on it and it shakes. And they got salespeople telling you that you just stand on this. You don't need to work out ever again. You don't need to do all these. You don't need to do all this stretching, lifting stuff, all the rigmarole. You just stand there, and it's just that easy. It works out for you, and it's only $3,800. And I don't know, but it has a lifetime warranty, and it's stuff like that. And there's a hip load of like weird shows and just kind of creepy people. I know a lot of people go to this stuff, and like a lot of people reached out to me about it. And I'm not saying that like everyone who goes to this is lame, because people have told me that there are people who are cool who go to this and will network and things like that. But I didn't really try. I didn't like attend breakout sessions or something. I went to check it out. I took my whole family, so the 8 of us all went. But we just for the entertainment. So I speak to some people, but I can't say I really met anybody who impressed me. And the whole thing actually. And I'm sure there are some maybe cool people who show up or something and want to hang out. I just didn't meet anybody like that. Whatever. But the whole thing is like I don't know. It just makes you feel sad because especially with like everything you're subjected to there is completely stupid, and it just seems like just mimicking. It's like they're trying to say that they're making like a separate economy for like they're making all this like right wing stuff and like stuff for like your cell phone and whatever like apps and all the stuff, so you could exist in like a conservative ecosystem and ditch all the I don't know, the libtard stuff. But everything just seems like a cheap imitation of stuff. Like it just seems it seems like it actually seems kind of like Russian in a way, like how Russia will like make poor imitations of like Western things. Like it seems kind of like there's it seems like Asiatic or something. Like it seems like there's just something where it's like something mimicking something else, because that's what it is, and it's something not as good. I mean, these people are just as much liars as anything else. It's like they're probably bigger liars than the mainstream media. And like I say, I think most people who consume mainstream media probably don't take it that serious, and they probably have a healthy distrust of it. I don't even know anybody who really watches TV, or I don't know. I don't. Maybe people do, but this stuff isn't any better because it's just lying to you nonstop, and it's all these people. Every single speaker is like Tulsi and Glenn Beck, and like the biggest, like the biggest, like there's no ideas that these people are going to say that are going to be good, where you, even if you might agree with some of it, because some of you might think that these are fellow travelers in a way, in some way, because you might agree with, you know, maybe nobody's perfect, but we're in opposition to the same sort of thing, so we march forward together. And I'd actually say that this opposition is a bigger enemy than even the system or something. Like I would say that I would say that just if you just had like a neutral playing field and just look at how things are spread out, you in a lot of ways we're not as bad of a place as you might think. Like everything could be turned around and fixed. Like pretty much everything could be turned around and fixed. We're not at the, and it wouldn't be that difficult. But it's a heart problem. what we have is a heart problem, and it's I mean it would only take like I'm not trying to say that if you just red pill enough people and people wake up, then things. I don't think it will happen. I mean, if it could happen, it maybe this would have been it, but it's just not happening. So it's just not the way things work out. Like people don't just for no reason just decide to better themselves. But I mean, if they did, it would be totally possible to but you know, as it is, even if something even with all the external things that might cause people to better themselves, wars going on and the hardship and things and needing to find solutions, as that comes up, these people are going to give are just going to lie to you and misdirect you and misguide you, which is what we're seeing, because there's nothing really good that will come out of all of those. I mean, even if it's not totally preposterous that these people will take power, I guess. It's just how, I mean, people are stupid. That's why this stuff gets popular, because people are very dumb. And so they're just prone to following grifters. And even if, when most people will distrust the media, they're going to follow like the next grifter who lies to them. They don't just believe the TV, they believe the exact next thing with very little critical thought. And so that's why you have things like AmFest and things. It's the only way to really explain it. It's just kind of, it's super bogus. And they have like, the whole thing is about like Christian nationalism, which is like a complete joke and nobody should support, by the way. But you see the idea of like this kind of Christianity that this movement is about, because they had like a church, like a strong worship night and all that, with all this like, and it like the rock band kind of church, the mega church, like, I don't know, you see it and it's that brand of whatever. I mean, there's something just not there's just something inferior about it, and it doesn't it doesn't strike. I don't know, people get really into it. I stuck around to watch some of the stuff, and there were a lot of people who were like going nuts over, I mean, pretty much the whole time. I got a feeling that a lot of the people who attended this were pretty into it. There are a lot of old people who are definitely into it, but there's also, I'll say that, like, they actually had a lot of women at this thing, which is maybe surprising, but maybe something going for. If you're there to meet women, to try to pick up chicks, try to find a wife or something, I wouldn't hate on you for going to this for that. It seemed to makes that would probably make some sense, because probably a lot of the stuff you could women will get into this stuff real quickly, and it's kind of, it is an attractive trait in women when they'll kind of get into the stuff. I mean, I met a lot of nice people at this place, but everyone was kind of cool. Everyone was nice. So it's whatever. But totally delusional. And there's only, I mean, as far as a lot of the people that go, a lot of the, like, if you're like a grown man who's really into this stuff, at some point there's just like no hope for you. Like, I don't think that, I think a lot of the big hardcore Russia people, at this point, I just think they're so inferior because they've internalized so much bad information about how wars are conducted and things, where if they believe the stuff and they seem to still think the Russian army is something that it's not, where the evidence shows that it's not what they think it is. You're just kind of inferior because you can't deduce facts. You can't just see you might see a few patterns, but the most easy one, you might figure out the most easy kind of patterns to pick up. The most broad ones you'll pick up. But when you really get into the nitty gritty, you find out who are more. This is why it wouldn't be like, you don't really want the Hinkles coming on board. This wouldn't be a good thing, where there was a point where, like, Spencer changed course. I think when it was healthy, when it actually made sense. I think you get a certain amount of facts and you change your opinion. I think this is a higher caliber. I mean, say what you want about Spencer, and I think he's fair game to rip on all day long, but he's definitely more intelligent than anyone I met at AmFest, or probably anyone who spoke there, and definitely more than the Hinkle crowd, and so you're only going to get so much. Like, and depending on who you want to reach, maybe you figure you want to get. I guess you have to get all the stupid people at some point too, but they're just not persuaded by these kind of arguments, and not that valuable. And like you definitely see huge crowds at amongst grifters, but they're just not. It's not like an enviable. This is like Bannon called this the force recon, and he's insisting this is like an elite vanguard of the right, and he's saying all this stuff. But then you look around, and is just completely delusional. Like, even if Trump gets into office or something, and maybe he will, maybe he won't, but it's just going to be a huge joke and like a big waste of time and like a huge disappointment, because that's what these people do. They just tend to disappoint. And I think the real solutions for this stuff are there. I don't think it would be difficult to do a lot of, like, for instance, to secure the border and to deport all these people. I don't think that's actually that much of a trick. I don't think this is a problem that can't be solved. It can be, but it's a heart problem, you see, and it's just the way people are. And there's actually well, it was in Pilgrim's Progress, where what is it? The pilgrim Christian, he's with maybe his buddy, and it might be Faithful or some. I forget which one, but they're in a dungeon. It's a dungeon of the giant despair. That's what it was. And they're in this. I remember you read the story, and they're in this dungeon for a long time, and it's like, then his buddy, he remembers he actually has the key, and it's in his breast pocket, and it's the key of promise. And so they're just like, oh great, his buddy's like, that's great, well then let's get out of here. But but you read it and you'd figure, like, wouldn't you figure that you'd be a little bit angry that this guy had the key the entire time. It was like the key of hope, or like the key of promise. And then they get out of the giant's dungeon. But he had the key the entire time, and he didn't tell anybody. But, it's a meaningful story. The problem is in our hearts. And that's what you forget. You forget that actually there's a way out of this. It's very easy. But it's the problem's in our hearts. But the problem is in the hearts of let's say who's our Tim Pool. There's however many people. If you look at all the speakers, I didn't see everybody. Like, I was only there for so much of it, but there's every which, like, grifter, and to the point where even Turning Point USA had to like disavow their own people. They're like, we're not endorsing all these people, because I mean it's all bad news. Roseanne, you're not building this. The alternate conservative ecosystem would be one where, I mean, after so long of living there, you'd just be scratching help into the dirt, hoping a plane will pass by and rescue you. This thing is just kind of a joke. It's just not happening. All of it could happen, but the grifters blocked the way. And the whole thing, everyone there is united by a love of Russia. All as far as all the speakers go, all the people swaying all the minds of all these, conservative people, all the right wing people, and they're hooting and hollering about how Zelensky is a dictator and Hitler and not one more dollar and whoop-de-woo. But Israel needs to be on auto pay for, millions of artillery shells every day, or like, there's no limit to the stuff. And frankly, the situation has gotten very bad. It's bad for America right now. Who knows how things are going to go with the funding for the war. It's a very, very sad situation because basically it's, I mean, I don't know, if America betrays Ukraine, it's a huge blow to everything, Western civilization, our country's credibility, all the Ukrainian people. The whole story is very sad. I mean, I'm convinced the war will go on, and there's no way to really end all these put all the wars back. And so far, I mean, a lot of our problem is that we've not had an aggressive approach to war where we live in peace while the wars go on. And we figure we're managing the situation, and it's really getting out of control. And I think it'll keep getting out of control, but it'll go until people are forced to get serious and to deal with the situation. Until then, I think that it's going to be wars are the only thing that will make people better themselves, because it does put you in a situation where, like, it's very clear, like, the only right-wing movement in the world maybe that's worth anything is like Azov and like the Ukrainians, because for them it's very clear what they have to do. They have kill Russians and liberate their territory, and it's crystal clear, but everyone else lives in delusion. Like, all the there's only so much that could be said, like I say, about the Turning Point USA being fellow travelers of anything. And for the most part, if they say something that's true, it's to the point. Like, if Marjorie Taylor Greene says something that's true, it's bad for the truth. It's like, this is bad for the truth, because like, when you agree with something she says, it's bad. But for the most part, I don't even think these people really are fellow like, most of what they say is bad. Most of what they say is basically like on the level of like Bolshevism. Like, literally what they're saying is could fit right into communism. And I mean, even like, I think it's bad how they approach, like, they brag at Turning Point, Tucker Carlson and Tim Pool, and so they credit President Trump for making them anti-war and seeing the light of being anti-war and being for, like, we're, even though they're I mean, whatever. And I don't necessarily think you're going to put all that on Trump, but what they want, the ideals that they're getting people to internalize are not good, are not what we want. And I think a real awakening would look like a militarizing society and a more martial society. That would be good for our people. And I think that will be what at some point you're just forced to see. Like I said, I don't think you could just red pill people. I think the situation has to be forced on them. And what it looks like what's going on with this right wing, they're not people who are going to solve anything. They're huge screw ups, and the problems are just going to build up until something real comes along. Even if these people take power, it's just they're going to bungle things, and there'll just be more wars and more pain, and that's going to have to ramp up until people are forced, because people are stupid and people are evil, and that's just the fact of life. That's most people, and that's most people, even in the best country, even of the best people. So that's something that, I don't know, is maybe a tough pill as well. It's just a fact. And the more you deal with people and you see, it's just how things go. So as far as these big political movements go, it's all a huge waste of time. So I didn't really go to necessarily, I went for entertainment, because they have all these like trippy lights and stuff. And like, there's just going to be all these kind of clownish people there, and there's going to be all the stands of stuff, and not that, there wasn't anything to really buy or anything, because it's just garbage, and like coffee and stuff. And a lot of this coffee, I'll say, doesn't actually, probably Black Rifle coffee, I mean, just to be honest, still that actually tastes pretty good as far as coffee goes, but most of the stuff is like Folgers instant coffee tier. None of it is like, I would rather go to Starbucks than really any of the stuff, but for some reason it's a big thing to just get beans and make it right wing, and it's always like, I don't know, some gun coffee or something ridiculous. But so yeah, Jackson Hinkle's girlfriends broke up with him. AmericaFest is lame, and Glenn Greenwald's husband's dead from whatever. None of this adds up to a whole lot. So as far as, if I would recommend, say, not getting invested in any of these political movements, and not to say that I wouldn't do, like, I'm not someone who'd say that everything is all feds and stuff. Like, I actually am more of a joiner, where I would totally be down with some, like, if there was something with a legit, that was like legit, I would want to support it. Even if it wasn't necessarily 100% correct, because I agree that certain things, if they kind of are good and can bring good things, even if their ideas are dumb, which is the story of America, by the way, because our ideology has never been that perfect, because it's about the people, and about, it's about other things. To me, just living in reality and just having a civilization and things, it's not, your political ideology and all that isn't the end of everything. But if there's something that was like, it could be good, I would support it. But it's all total garbage. And I'd say that, and otherwise, I'd say I'm not trying to support the establishment, because I think that their failings should be pointed out, especially in Ukraine right now, where I think they could do more. We'll see what they do, but it would be cool if they could work out. I know Biden has said he's down with negotiating for border security and restrictions on immigrants for the Ukraine funding. But what I suspect is the Republicans are not interested in the stuff. They're just throwing wrenches in the gears so that nothing gets done, so that there will be nothing done on the border. I mean, prove me wrong. I'm not I'm not interested in only saying polemic and things, I'd be totally happy, and this is why I say, I'd be happy to say that the establishment is doing good. And I can say that very few people are ever going to really do that because there isn't that much money to be made, say, as being a grifter. You need to generate complaints, or be on this contrarian thing. I'll just say that there isn't really anything. I could say that about the establishment. I've said that before, and I've complimented Brandon before on good things he's done. But right now, there's significant failings across the board with Biden. And of course, you look at the opposition and it's not any better. And in fact, it's worse. And frankly, I mean, maybe, I don't know how seriously Trump takes these people, but these people, their whole movement is Trump. Like, they could really give a rip about anything else. And I mean, I'm not totally even against that kind of politics. If this is like a great man and you're just going to follow, and he's the great leader and all that, but I mean, it's just Trump, really. I mean, he's funny, but the whole thing's unserious. So if you want to dedicate your life to that, go for it. By all means, go get emotionally and invested into that. I don't know. We'll see how all this goes. Like, I wouldn't have a big problem with, like, Charlie Kirk, and I'll say this, as actually some of their policies in Arizona have been good for me. And some of the things that they've done, like I ended up attending this event, even though I planned to protest it, but I was giving free passes, so whatever. And everyone else other people kind of reached out to me and kind of flaked out about it, but I got free passes, so I went. But I'll say Charlie Kirk is garbage as a person, and as he's what I would call a phony Christian and a fake Christian. In the level of this kind of lies, I'd say he's probably a reprobate and just an evil person. But actually, the things that conservatives have done in Arizona have been good for me. So I'm not I think that I'd get along just fine, even if these people took power or something. It'd be fine for me, but it's just not good it's just not good all around. Like, it might be, it's been good for homeschoolers. It's good for your bank account, for this sort of thing. And some of the policies have been good for Arizona, but in the end, I don't know how far it goes. Like, as far as having, like, our side of these people are lunatics in other ways, where it's just hard to support them. Even though, say, the governor, I mean, you can't really support her either because she, libtard. But I mean, we're placed in a very bad spot where the opposition is clogged up by total grifters and miscreants and Bolshevists and Max Blumenthal, Glenn Greenwald, and this whole crew, and like all these grifters are all pro Russia, and it's because it's for various reasons, but it's a big distant. They figured out different things as a lowest common denominator. So, for some of us who maybe want more from your life and your society and your culture, than just something that, these people are what they bring is ugliness, and it won't be defended for very long, and people are going to get sick of it immediately. If you're cringe, if you're ugly, because you need to, if you want these kind of like these kind of ideals, you need to make something beautiful that people actually want to defend and fight for aggressively, because then and this is what more how it would look is, let's face it, like when we had Trump in power, everything was kind of dumb. You say, well, it's because of the people who freaked out and were in opposition, but that's just what things look like. It wasn't under control, and however many people hate it, and it just, problems weren't dealt with, and it's just bad for everyone. And a kind of Charlie Kirk world, I don't think a lot of people are going to be on board with it, especially because it's cringe. Even like, how many people just see this stuff and think it's just how lame, how lame. Even people who mostly agree with pretty much all of it, I think this stuff is lame, because there's however much that's a huge turnoff. So what this will do to your society isn't going to be a national revolution. Like, they can't do it. This is, I mean, what we need is the Azov revolution, or or something more like that. And I don't know, this kind of thing, it doesn't have it in it. There isn't the personnel there, and it isn't animated by the same spirit that you'd find in a successful movement. This is more like pressure release, grift, and so on and so forth. So I would say, in that, really, that's just what it makes me think, that this is maybe the biggest problem we face, because everything else could be solved if you had, I mean, if this was out of the way, there would be another opposition, because there is enough to agitate people with how things are, like, because people are getting pissed about this or that, not necessarily about Ukraine, but this is an artificial concern, because most people were not pissed about this until Tucker Carlson attaches this to everything else, like, but there is enough, people are mad in different ways, where you'd still have a different opposition, but no matter what it would be, it would probably be better than this one. It could be worse, but it could also be better. And so, one way or another, but what we have, it's not worth any kind of, it's not worth that really participating in. It's not even really worth, say, I didn't really have it in me to, after being around there, there isn't that much point in like confronting it, or like debating it or something. It's just because it's just stupid, and I mean, it's like you'd feel like you'd be like Captain Ahab or something like that, just like going up against some dumb thing. But but I don't know. So it is what it is. I don't know what I guess my advice to people would be to just not participate in this sort of thing, and to maybe just build something else. Not that there is something else. There really isn't, because across the board, it's not like there is necessarily some like super dope faction of like nationalists or something. It's just not really out there. So just do something else with your life. And I just wait for things to get worse, which they inevitably will. And then maybe after this garbage crumbles, something else, probably there isn't necessarily going to be a system that collapse. Like the system, the establishment isn't going to collapse. You're not going to wait for the establishment to collapse and then build something else. You're going to wait for this crummy opposition to collapse, and then you're going to build something else, and then maybe the, or who knows, or like if there was like a civil war or something right now, you know, I would suggest holding back. I would build my forces probably I'd be building up in the rear instead of joining in any kind of fighting right now, or something. You like let the other kind of factions build up something worthwhile, and then take then just take that, pick a fight somewhere. But this stuff is just it's all very disappointing, because there's however many people fired up, and whatever maybe they want in their hearts, or whatever maybe deep down they're after, what there's some, they know that things are messed up, but they're all, they're just misdirected into something stupid, where maybe, I mean, yeah, they could have been, but it's whatever. They're at the, not that I pity them, but I just see the opportunity cost for higher things, for making something higher, for if you want to live in something like that, this is stealing your birthright. No, but yeah, Jackson Hinkle's girlfriend dumped him, and so yeah, I don't know. He had a girlfriend provided by the Russian Secret Service, a prostitute girlfriend, and but whatever. She was Miss Russia. Jackson Hinkle cucked Russia, but what can any other dissident say? Very little. Very very little. But all right.